here, aka Trans Spirit Indigo, a soul having a transgender human experience. How is everybody doing today? I wanted to make a quick video and come on here and talk about what it was like for me as a very, very young child, as a transgender child. We're talking like 0 to 5 years old, the youngest of the young, before things got extra complicated, before puberty hit, right? Okay, so I have been working away at finishing my book, a memoir about growing up transgender. And at first I wasn't really sure if I should be doing that. There's so many books out there that people have already written. Then I realized that was an excuse of mine because I felt the calling to do so. Whenever you feel the calling to do anything, you should probably follow that call, in my opinion. I realized after reading and skimming through some different memoirs, because let's be honest, I can't read like 5 memoirs at the same time. Everybody's story was different. Everybody's story was different, and I'm going to give a big shout out to Jacob Tobiah. I am a huge fan of them, and I'm currently reading their book, Sissy. That book definitely helped me to realize that I should keep writing because, well, actually, they encourage it, which brought me to tears, encourage transgender people to write their memoirs. And they were really smart about it because they mentioned the fact that all our stories are different, and that's just it. Some of the things that Jacob went through were similar to me, but some things were completely different. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. So if I were to go back to 0 to 3 years old, before I started preschool, my life had no gender that I was aware of. It had gender, but I wasn't aware of it. So my memories of being that young, 2 and 3 years old, are at my parents' house, playing with toys and watching Sesame Street. I can't complain. I'm very thankful that I had a loving childhood with both parents. I'm very blessed to have come from that. I honestly don't know if I'd be sitting here making videos and writing a book if I hadn't had that kind of support. So the first few years were spent pretty genderless for me, meaning that they didn't puke pink all over me. They didn't stick me in frilly dress after frilly dress. I wore a lot of just t-shirts and jeans, and I don't have any memories of being upset about gender until preschool. They put me in preschool at 3 years old, like 3.5 years old. And the beginning of it's pretty fuzzy because I was so little. But my memory really strikes up at age 4. Most experts on gender will tell you that children typically discover their identity and relate to their identity by the age of 5. I mean, that was spot on because by 5 years old, I felt like a boy. And 4 years old, I felt like a boy. And for me, okay, so what does that feel like? How do you feel like a boy? I think that's one of the biggest questions that people that are not transgender have. And a simple answer for that would be, well, as much as you feel like the gender that you are, that's how transgender people feel about how they identify. Like, for instance, I'll use my cisgender brother as an example. He feels like a male. He's always felt like a male. I've asked him before, have you ever felt like a female in any way, shape, or form? And he honestly just looked at me and said, no, I have never felt like a female. When you're transgender, at least in my experience, for me, I always felt like a boy. So just as certain as he always felt like a boy, I felt just as certain. So it's a total internal thing that you feel. It's just like an all-knowing thing. You just know, you feel it, there it is. So when I was in preschool, what I noticed as that little kid who didn't know the difference between the two different parts, penis and vagina, I'm sure my parents told me I had a vagina, but what did that mean to me at 4? Like, okay, what's a vagina? In fact, just for humor's sake in this video, I'm going to share with you that when I was that little, I used to call it a lachina. Anyway. Okay, so a little more serious here. So I didn't understand the difference between the penis and the vagina. And to me, we were all just human beings. But now, mind you, this is a 4 year old's perspective, okay? This is the point of the video, the 4 year old's perspective. To me, the difference between boys and girls was clearly just haircuts and clothes. And I loved the boy clothes. Now, I've already discussed how clothes don't actually have gender, but we place gender upon them, saying that this looks more masculine. Like, look, my shirt right now, even the wall behind me, it's all blue. So that would be usually known as a more masculine color, when in all reality, it's a color, and girls can enjoy blue just as much as boys. So I noticed the hair and I noticed the clothes. I liked the boy clothes, what was known as boy clothes, more than the girls. In fact, I didn't like the girl clothes at all. And I would always ask my parents to wear these specific striped shirts that when I look back at photographs, they look like boy clothes. Like, it's like I found the most butch masculine girl clothes I could at the store when I got to pick them out with my parents, and that's what I went for. And overalls. I loved my denim overalls. So I felt comfortable in those clothes because I felt like I was wearing boy clothes. But something that really upset me as a young child was my hair, the length of my hair. I really wanted to cut my hair pretty much as short as it is now. I need a haircut now, but I wanted to cut my hair this short as a kid. And they weren't really, my mom wasn't really having it. And I hate to make her sound bad because she just didn't know any better. Like, in her mind, she just thought I was being a goofy kid and just was like, cut my hair as short as the boys, Mom. Like, she didn't get it, and she compromised with me, and she let me get like a bob haircut, one of those that go up to here. So eventually, but in those early days of preschool, I had very long hair. I'm talking like down to my waist long. And I remember feeling jealousy for the very first time, because before that, I was an only child at my parents' house or my grandma's house, being babysat by them, and there were no other kids around. So this was my first time amongst people my age. So for me, I think that was the first time that I experienced jealousy, when I saw these kids. And I would ask why I couldn't have the haircut or why I couldn't have the clothes. And the answer was always simply, because you're a girl. And I didn't know what that meant. Again, I didn't understand that I have this certain body part and boys have a certain body part. That didn't click. I was too little. All I knew is I wanted to dress a certain way and I wanted to go hang out with the boys. I remember them putting us in girl lines and boy lines. And of course, preschool is when I was first introduced to bathrooms, okay? Because all bathrooms and houses are gender neutral. Unless people got like a male and female bathroom in their house. I have never seen that before. And coming from someone like me, I wouldn't like that. This was the first time that I was introduced to bathrooms and to the entire gender binary, and I didn't like it. It upset me because it made me feel like there was something wrong with me. I did vocalize to my teacher and to my parents that I wanted to be in the boy line and this and that, and it was just kind of brushed off. It was 1989, 88 actually, and nobody where I lived in the Midwest, at least in my circle of people, I don't think anyone knew what transgender meant. I was just being a kid. Well, thankfully nowadays people are more aware of this, and for me, if a child is saying, I'm a boy and they're biologically a girl, or vice versa, it's very important to hear them out and hear what they have to say, and not to panic about it, because it happens. It's actually pretty dang natural. It's not common, but it's happens, and it's been happening since the beginning of human beings. And different societies have looked at being transgender as different ways. Our society is not too kind to transgender people. However, the Native American culture that was here long before us, lots of those different tribes actually worship transgender people, call them two-spirited beings. So it's all perspective, right? I say that a lot, but I mean that every time I say it. It's all perspective. As simple as it all sounds, a young kid wanting to wear different clothes and have a different haircut and stand in the boy line instead of the girl line, it might sound also silly, like it didn't really matter. However, it was a huge deal, and it wasn't silly because those thoughts, those negative thoughts I had about myself, thinking that there was something wrong with me. I mean, I thought that there was something wrong with me because I felt like a boy. And I guess what I'm trying to say is because I was so young and I didn't understand the difference between genitalia and everything, I was constantly in frustration as just a little bitty kid because I literally thought that I was a boy and everyone kept calling me a girl. And it just, I mean, it's so confusing. It's an all-knowing thing. It's just like how, like, my mom, she knows she's a female. She's always felt like a female. She never questioned it. And if somebody at 4 years old is saying I'm a boy or I'm a girl and they're opposite, I think that's really powerful. That really says something. It wasn't like a trend. It wasn't something that I saw on TV. It was me. It was my soul speaking out and saying, no, I'm a boy. And I felt like nobody heard me. I felt like everybody was dismissing my feelings, even at that young age. And I kind of laugh when I see comments or people posting that kids don't know gender at that age. And some kids do. I mean, at the risk of sounding like an asshole, some kids have a level of intelligence where they do know. Well, like I was saying, most gender experts will tell you that most children identify with their gender identity at 5 years old. The people that are saying that that's too young are probably people that just never thought about it. I mean, I can't blame them. I mean, most 5-year-olds are thinking about their toys and in this day and age, what's on TV and stuff like that. And if they're going to get chicken nuggets for lunch, most kids are in disarray because they feel like they're not in the right body. But other kids are, and I was one of them. And it's been a long time. It's been 30 years. This was 30 years ago. So I'm 35. And for 30 out of 35 years, actually 31, because it was 4 technically, 31 out of 35 years, I've identified with being a male in a female body. It is not a trend. It was not a phase. It's just who I am. And I'm curious to know your experiences. Because not everybody realizes that they're transgender at a young age. In fact, I didn't know what the word meant until I turned 20 years old. And thankfully, a friend of a friend told me to go look the word up. But some people, they don't really even feel that way until later. Everybody's different. So I'm curious. If you're transgender, when did you realize that you were transgender? Or if you know someone who's transgender, when did they come forth and say something to you? This is a difficult subject. There's a lot of pain involved. But the purpose of these videos and the purpose of what I do and I speak out about is to bring light into this situation. Because in all reality, the existence of being transgender can be viewed as a blessing. A lot of times it's viewed as a curse, but it can be a blessing because it expands your conscious awareness. As difficult as it's been, I've been blessed with the unique path of seeing life through the eyes of one gender within another. And therefore, I don't completely feel like a male or a female. A lot of times I just feel genderless because it's been so ingrained in me to be a female. I've been in the female locker rooms. I have to go to the female restroom. When I was younger, I was put in groups with females. And that was just eye-opening for me. And when I was younger, was the most difficult times, of course, not understanding. It was very, very difficult to be a teenage boy trapped in a girl's body. I put the quotes because when I say trapped, it sounds, I mean, yes, that's what it feels like, but I didn't have to be trapped. You know, I could have decided to start wearing more masculine clothes when I was younger. I just didn't know any better. Okay? So it's important for me to bring this all up and to speak out upon this. I'm an older transgender person, and I hope that this can help anybody out there, multiple people. Um, Whether you're young or old, it doesn't matter. We're all in this together. Okay? So that was my experience at that young age of 4 and 5 years old. I identified with a male, and it did cause some deep psychological damage that I'm still working through. And the damage was just like self-loathing and self-hate, feeling like was living in the wrong life, feeling like I was missing out on life, feeling like there was something wrong with me, like a predator, like there was something wrong with me for being attracted to females. When in all reality, I was like every other little boy, 5 years old, that thought another girl was cute. In fact, there was a boy in my kindergarten class who would hit on all the girls and say, you know, all the pretty girls, come sit by me. All the girls that would marry me, come sit by me. He was only 5 years old. So I'm saying is, some people think that kids don't act like that, but they totally do. And I watched that kid, and I remember being jealous of that kid because I thought, well, why does he get to have short hair, wear those clothes, and talk to girls like that? Because at a young age, at the church I grew up in, I was told that, you know, girls like boys, boys like girls, and that's it. So that's when life got extra frustrating because it went beyond hair and clothes, and it went in, and identity, and it went into like sexual preferences. And I don't want to say sexual for 5 year olds, but you know what I mean, just the preferences of what they're attracted to. You didn't see that little boy saying, all the cute boys come sit by me, any boy that wants to marry me. It was any girl, you know what I mean? So I was upset. I was an upset little boy in a girl body, and I was upset that I didn't have those kind of privileges. And that's what I would really like to heal for myself, but for others. I don't want other children to go through this. I don't want them to spend their entire childhood and teenage years thinking that they're wrong for who they are, because they're not. They're being themselves. Anyway, I just wanted to come on and say that, and I hope everybody's having a great day or night, whatever time you are watching this, considering time is a man-made construct. But anyway, have a fantastic one, and we'll see you next time. Peace and love, y'all.